Hey guys, welcome back to Dizzle Matrix. It's Mike here today, and we're gonna have a little bit of fun. We're gonna talk about testosterone replacement therapy, and we're gonna use the... I wore the wrong shirt. Hold on a second. All right, that's much better, right? A little bit better contrast for what we're trying to do here. Anyways, welcome back to the channel. Today we're gonna talk about testosterone replacement therapy, known as TRT commonly. Some people call it HRT for hormone replacement therapy. And it's just a common thing that a lot of guys have questions about now, especially with the declining testosterone levels and whatnot going on in society. So before we get into the video, I don't want this video to get taken down. So let me say plainly and clearly to both you and YouTube that's monitoring this, this is for entertainment purposes only. This is not medical advice. If you are the type of person that drives alone in your car with a mask on, also probably not for you. If you're a kid under 18 years old, turn the video off now. Thanks a lot, little buddy. Anyways, moving on from that, I have been taking testosterone replacement therapy now for about 4.5 or 5 years. And I know most of you think I'm just naturally beautiful and gifted and amazing. Of course, that's not true, because you guys are probably following most of my other weight loss journey going on the channel. And a lot of people, there's a lot of misconceptions going on with this stuff. So I'll tell you this, before I get into all the specifics, this is what I looked like about a year into TRT. Yeah, pretty much fat pile of crap, right? That's because TRT does not magically make you buffed, doesn't make you ripped, doesn't make you jacked even. And in fact, if you take the wrong dose or you have the wrong diet, lifestyle while you're taking it, it can actually make your life much worse. Okay, so let's talk about a little bit about testosterone. What does testosterone do? Well, for us and men, it helps generate muscle, it helps generate strength, helps regulate other hormones, it helps keep our estrogen in check. It does a lot of things that men need. Now, how do you know, or would you be inclined to know or believe that you're perhaps a little bit low on testosterone? Well, there's a whole list of things, and most of them are just called being an adult and getting older, and they usually suck anyways. But there's some very clear-cut things. Sexual dysfunction when you've never had it, you have no mechanical reason to have it. Sleeplessness, being overly fatigued, right? Low energy. There's a lot of different subtle things that move in there, okay? Mindset, aggression, if you feel like you're in a fog all the time, there's a whole host of symptoms. Basically, you just don't feel right. Now, it could be a number of things, right? It could be your diet shit, you drink too much, you don't exercise at all, you smoke, you do something else, right? That's why it's important, obviously, to consult with a doctor. However, these are the type of symptoms, lifestyle symptoms, where you feel slower, sluggish, drawn out, not the man you used to be, and you can't really put your finger on it. Testosterone is a good thing to go out and get checked. And that's what makes this such a gray area art form / science. Most doctors, if they haven't been prescribing this and have feedback from their patients, they don't really know how it affects their patients. And that's not to say it's their fault or anything. It's just, it's different for everybody. We have boxes that we can put you in, right? Like a lot of people start at 150 milligrams or 200 milligrams just to see where you're at. But when I talk about levels, generally speaking, it goes, a normal level is like 300 to 900. And again, don't quote me on that. That's just kind of like the base level of total testosterone, right, that you would have. When you are young, dumb, and full of energy, when you're like 20 years old, you're at your maximum amount of testosterone that your body will ever make in your whole life. Generally speaking, that is between 35 to 70 milligrams a week. And obviously your body secretes it in the middle of the night while you're sleeping, and then, you know, microdoses you throughout the week. And that helps you become big and strong and become a man, and then hopefully go on social media and get into keyboard warrior wars with people. No, really though, the reason I tell you that is because when we go into dosing later, there's some little ins and outs about it that don't necessarily compute when you're taking exogenous, meaning outside the body, testosterone versus your naturally made. Okay, so we talked about some of the things that are bad when you're low, but what happens if you take too much TRT? Well, kind of the opposite, but in different ways. So for one thing, your estrogen tries to balance out itself naturally with your body, with your testosterone. Estrogen's responsible for a lot of the chill things that we do and our body processes, right? You gotta have estrogen even as a man. Yes, we have it, and it keeps us in balance. But the problem is, if you artificially jack up your testosterone way too high, your estrogen tries to keep the same percentage and it also elevates. What do you run into that? High blood pressure, high cholesterol, moon face, water weight, all the bad things. You can even get bitch tits, you know, everybody's fun favorite. But yeah, so there's a lot of negatives to taking too much. And then the gym bros will tell you, you know, we're not talking about steroids here. Okay, this is not a steroid conversation. This is clinical testosterone replacement therapy we're talking about here. But you can still get into, at the higher levels, some of the side effects those guys taking that kind of stuff are taking, okay? And they'll counter with, well, you can just take, you know, this drug to block estrogen. You could take this drug to, you know, get rid of your water weight. Well, why do that when you could just take a lower dose and figure it out? So one of the things I wanted to talk to you about with the dosing real quick is, I think I'm an advocate for taking the minimum of everything, because if we're putting something that's not natural in us, and again, testosterone cypionate, which is typically the TRT that you're gonna be taking, it's pretty close analog to what we make. It doesn't have on its own anything weird that it does to us, but again, the dosing is very specific. So I always advocate start at a minimum dose. You think more is better, but it's not. Let me give you an example. When I first started, they put me on 200 milligrams, okay, per week. Now, my level, when I came in and got tested, I was in the low 200s for that total level. And remember, 300 to 900 is like a good spectrum there, okay? I was in the 200s. That's why my doc said, hey, let's give this a go. So I went on it. They put me on 200 milligrams a week. Well, I took it for about 12 weeks, not knowing what the hell I'm doing. First thing I noticed, strength improved, libido improved, like all the immediate stuff was great. I had energy even when I didn't sleep. It was just like, wow, this stuff's a miracle, man. But then by the second or third month, the side effects kicked in. I started retaining water weight. Remember that fat picture? Yeah, I wasn't going to the gym. I was still eating and drinking whatever I want. And the testosterone was actually making me hungrier because I was being more active and stuff. So I'm eating more calories. I'm not doing an exercise to counterforce that. And now I'm retaining water. My blood pressure spiked. My bad cholesterol went up. Like everything went to shit. So that's my cautionary tale. I went down to 150, I went down to 120, and now I actually only take 100 milligrams a week. And I know a guy that's completely shredded that takes only 80 milligrams a week. Now, the conversion process for testosterone, when you inject it, we're talking IM here, you can do patches, you can do gels, you can do all kinds of stuff, right? There's even oral in certain, he said oral. There's even orals in certain circumstances that you could take, but I don't lean that way because, you know, I like to just get it in and give it a go once a week and I'm done, okay? But for the conversion process for injectable testosterone, you actually lose about 30% to the ether. Now, what that mumbo jumbo basically means is whatever it's listed at in your dose. So if you're taking 200 milligrams, let's say, of test sip and you inject that, 30% is the byproduct, that, you know, the solution and everything else that you're injecting. So you end up with 70% or 140 milligrams. But remember, a totally jacked stud 21-year-old makes like 70 milligrams a week. So even at that, you're double what a jacked 21-year-old is. And sure, you might feel great, and guys do feel great, but this is a gray area. Some guys feel like shit, even if they're at 800, they got to go up to 1,000, right? There's one-offs. That's why you got to talk to your doctor. You got to source it out yourself. But I'll tell you, the side effects suck really bad if you get it wrong. So that's pretty much TRT in a nutshell. If you're feeling down and you're over 30 years old, it's definitely something you want to go get checked. It's an ongoing problem. We got microplastics in our balls. There's all kinds of environmental, things going on. There's messed up food supplies. In this day and age, testosterone is just dropping like a rock, especially for the younger generation. So I would advocate, if you're having a lot of those symptoms that I mentioned earlier, you're over 30, go have your doctor have a conversation, explain to them what's going on, have your testosterone tested, and see if it can help you out. So in the meantime, I don't have any links to it. It's a Schedule I drug. That's why this is entertainment purposes only. But if you're into peptides, you can go to fitaminos.com, use the link below, code DIZZLE, and that's for another day. But that's also, if you're watching this video, you may be into peptides, so I'll go ahead and throw that out there. Anyways, leave your comments below if you have any questions. Let me know your experience on TRT, and let's keep it rolling. Appreciate you guys watching the video. I'll check you guys on the next one.